In a remote corner of the African savannah, far beyond the reach of any major trade routes or well-worn path, there lay a small isolated village called Ngando. Surrounded by dense forests and guarded by towering mountains, Ngando was a world unto itself, where the villagers lived in harmony with nature and each other. They knew nothing of the outside world, and few ever left the village to venture beyond the surrounding wilderness. One day, at the height of the dry season, when the sun hung low and weary in the sky, a stranger appeared at the outskirts of Ngando. He was tall and lean, with skin the color of polished ebony, and eyes that gleamed with an unusual intensity. He wore simple clothes, tattered robe and worn sandals, and carried nothing but a small leather pouch slung over his shoulder. His presence was striking, but his demeanor was humble and unassuming. The villagers were surprised to see a newcomer, as it was rare for anyone to find their way to Ngando. Curious but cautious, they approached the stranger with questions. "Who are you, and where have you come from?" they asked. The man smiled warmly but spoke with a voice that carried the weight of years. "My name is Ekundayo," he said, "and I come from a place far from here. I have traveled many days and nights to find this village. I seek a new beginning." The villagers, sensing no ill intent, welcomed him into their community. They offered him food and shelter, and soon Ekundayo became a part of the village life. He was skilled with many things: carving, farming, and storytelling, and he shared his knowledge generously with the people of Ngando. He helped the men in the fields, taught the children to carve intricate patterns in wood, and entertained the elders with tales of distant lands. His presence brought a new energy to the village, and he quickly became beloved by all. Months passed, and Ekundayo seemed to settle comfortably in his new life. He spoke little of his past, and the villagers, respecting his privacy, did not press him for details. They only knew that he was a wanderer, seeking peace and solace in their humble community. Ekundayo's skills as a healer soon became known. The villagers began to seek his help for various ailments. His remedies, drawn from knowledge that seemed both ancient and mysterious, and many began to regard him with a reverence usually reserved for the village elders. One day, while tending to the garden of medicinal herbs he had planted near his hut, Ekundayo noticed a young woman named Amara watching him. Amara was the daughter of the village chief, a gentle soul with a quiet beauty that drew admiration from many. She was fascinated by the stranger and often found excuses to visit him, asking about the plants and their uses. Ekundayo, sensing her curiosity, began to teach her what he knew. They spent many hours together, sharing stories and laughter. As the bond between them grew, so did the whispers among the villagers. It was clear to all that Amara had fallen in love with the mysterious stranger, and Ekundayo, despite the shadows that clung to his past, found himself drawn to her in return. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky blazed with the colors of dusk, a group of travelers arrived in Ngando. They were merchants from a distant village, trading goods and stories as they made their way across the land. The villagers welcomed them warmly, eager to hear news from beyond the mountains. Among the travelers was an old man, frail and stooped with age, but with eyes that still sparkled with the fire of youth. As the evening wore on and the villagers shared tales of their journeys, the old man's gaze fell upon Ekundayo. His expression froze, and his eyes widened in disbelief. "You!" the old man gasped, his voice trembling. "It cannot be. You are dead. I was there. I saw you buried." The villagers fell silent, their eyes darting between Ekundayo and the old man. Ekundayo's face remained calm, but his eyes darkened with a sadness that seemed to come from deep within. The old man, now shaking with a mixture of fear and confusion, continued, "I know you, Ekundayo. You were a warrior in my village many years ago. You were the pride of our people, but you died, killed in battle against the raiders who attacked us. We buried you with honor, and your grave lies in the sacred ground of our ancestors. How can you be here, alive, in this place?" The villagers stared at Ekundayo, waiting for an explanation. Amara, who had been standing near him, felt a cold dread creep into her heart. Ekundayo took a deep breath and spoke. his voice low and filled with sorrow. "What the old man says is true," he began. "I was once a warrior in a distant land, and I died in battle many years ago. But my spirit could not find peace. I was bound to the earth by a curse, doomed to wander until I found a place where I could live again, far from the memories of my past." He looked around at the faces of the villagers who had once welcomed him with open arms and now regarded him with a mixture of fear and confusion. "I came to Ngando seeking a new beginning, a chance to live among people who did not know my past. I have tried to make a life here, to do good and be at peace. But it seems that the past cannot be escaped." The villagers were torn. They had grown to love Ekundayo, and his presence had brought them much good. But the revelation that he was a spirit, a dead man walking among the living, filled them with unease. In their culture, the spirits of the dead were revered, but also feared, for it was believed that they belonged to the world of the ancestors, not the realm of the living. The village elders convened a council to decide what to do. They listened to the old man's testimony, heard Ekundayo's plea, and debated late into the night. In the end, they reached a decision. The next morning, the villagers gathered in the center of the village. The chief, Amara's father, stepped forward to address the crowd. "Ekundayo," he said, "you have been a good man and have brought much to our village, but you are not of this world. You belong to the spirit realm, and it is there that you must return. We cannot allow a spirit to live among us, for it is against the natural order." Amara's eyes filled with tears as she realized what this meant. She has fallen in love with Ekundayo, and now she was being asked to let him go. She ran to him, clutching his arm, and pleaded with her father, "Please, let him stay. He has done nothing but good for our people. He has brought us healing and joy. Why must we send him away?" The chief's face softened as he looked at his daughter, but his resolve remained firm. "Amara, my daughter, this is not a choice we make lightly, but it is not our place to keep a spirit from its rightful home. The ancestors have spoken, and we must honor their will." Ekundayo gently took Amara's hands in his. "Do not cry for me, Amara," he said softly. "I knew this day would come. My time here was always borrowed. I am grateful for the love and kindness you and your people have shown me, but it is time for me to go." With that, Ekundayo stepped away from the villagers and began to walk towards the edge of the forest. The villagers watched in silence, their hearts heavy with the weight of what was happening. As Ekundayo reached the tree line, he turned back one last time to look at the village that had become his home. He smiled, a sad but peaceful smile, and then disappeared into the shadows of the trees. Amara fell to her knees, weeping. The villagers too mourned the loss of the man who had brought so much to their lives, but they knew that they had done what was necessary according to the beliefs that had guided them for generations. Life in Ngando gradually turned to its normal rhythm, but the memory of Ekundayo lingered in the hearts of the villagers. They spoke of him with respect, remembering the good he had done and the joy he had brought to their community. Amara, though deeply saddened, took solace in the knowledge that Ekundayo's spirit had finally found peace. But there were those who whispered that on certain nights, when the moon was full and the wind rustled through the trees, a tall, lean figure could be seen walking along the edge of the forest, eyes gleaming with an underworldly light. The villagers believed it was Ekundayo's spirit, still watching over them from the other side. A guardian who had chosen to remain close to the place where he had found love and acceptance. And so the legend of Ekundayo, the spirit who came to live among the people of Ngando, became a part of the village's history, a tragic tale of love, loss, and unbreakable bond between the living and the dead.